the key language feature that we're going to use to make it more natural to represent the entire universe of dogs or whatever else, is that classes in Java can contain not just functions, but also data. So what I mean by that is that we are going to augment our dog class so that dogs have properties like size. And that class is going to serve as the blueprint for all dogs out there. And then we're going to instantiate that class into specific objects that we can then manipulate. Now that'll make more sense once we actually try out an example, so let's jump right in. So hopefully you've seen something pretty much like this. Now I know some of the people taking this class are coming from a MATLAB only background. I have a little example here that you can read to get a sense of what this is all about. But let's try it out in Java and see what it's like to make a dog blueprint. So what I'm going to do, I'll reopen my dog class. And I'm going to say a dog is not just a noise-making machine. Actually, a dog also has a property. That property is a dog is going to have, let's say, a weight in pounds. Okay? So as an American, I use the bizarre pounds system as opposed to kilograms. We're just going to roll with it. And that specifies how big a dog is. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the make noise method, and it's going to have a few cases. So if the weight in pounds of a dog is less than, say, 10, we're going to say it's going to yip. Okay. Otherwise, if the weight in pounds is less than 30, then we will say that it barks. Otherwise, it's such a large dog that it has a woof sound. Okay. So there's no malamutes here, like that dog we had with the beautiful aroo. So we'll default to woof for large dogs. Okay. So that's the make noise method. And now, if we try and compile our dog class, I get this funny message. Non-static variable weight in pounds cannot be referenced from a static context. So we'll get a better sense for what that means, but I'm going to tell you that the simple solution for us right now, this is not always the right solution when we get this compiler message, but what I'm going to do here is just delete the word static. Okay, and we'll pick apart why that is soon. Now if I try and compile it, dog.java compiles, and this is now a blueprint for all dogs. It can have different behavior based on the weight in pounds of the dog, and it's just a glorious thing. So let's go into dog launcher and see what things are like. So if we now try to compile a dog launcher, we get, non-static method make noise cannot be referenced from a static context. Okay, so you might be tempted to delete the word static. That is not the right answer here. What we want to do instead, and this is going to be a new piece of syntax, I'm going to say I need a specific dog. Okay, so I'm going to say, this is totally new syntax. Dog D equals new dog. This means create a dog, okay, a new dog, and let's call that dog, in this case, D. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is say d.weight in pounds equals, let's say, 25. So the dog now gains a certain weight. And then instead of saying dog.make noise, I'm going to say d make noise. Okay, that's a really important point. So this is like saying, great sky dog, the platonic ideal of all dogs, please make a noise. But if we look at the dog class, this is expecting a specific dog to be making noise. It's saying, if my weight, if me, Maya or whoever, Yapster, if my weight in pounds is less than 10, I'm going to do this, and so forth. So instead what I need to do is reference a specific dog. In fact, in this case, it's the one I just made. So if I do java c dog launcher.java, and then do java dog launcher, I get bark, because it's a 25-pound dog. If I do 51, and I recompile and run it, then I get woof. All right. So what this piece of code does is it creates a dog, sets its weight, and then makes that specific dog make noise. Okay. And we'll be picking more carefully what static means apart in a minute, but I just want to make sure this syntax is clear for now. So what I'm going to do is one last little tweak to this dog class and dog launcher class before we move on and kind of reflect on what we've done. So for those of you with some object-oriented programming experience, which is hopefully almost everybody, you're probably used to the idea that setting variables like this manually is kind of strange. So more typically, what we'll do is the dog launcher class, when we create the dog, we'll actually give it as a parameter to the dog creation process. So I'm going to get rid of this. And so in order to enable this, if I try it right now, it's not going to work. It's going to say, constructor class and dog cannot be applied to given types, da-da-da. So what it's saying is, I don't know what to do with this number. So to fix that, what we're going to do is create a special thing kind of like a method known as a constructor. So I'm just going to say public dog int w, and this is the constructor for, we'll call it the one integer constructor for dogs. So what that's going to do is if I say new dog and give an integer, this constructor will get called, and that'll specify how the dog is created. So in this case, the constructor is kind of trivial. The weight in pounds should just be set equal to w. And so now if I try running dog launcher, I run it and I get woof, right? So this code is now functioning because now I've added this constructor. If you came from a language like Python, this is very similar to the init method that classes have. Okay? One little side note I'll make is you'll notice I didn't recompile the dog class. It turns out that the Java C command in Java is very smart, and if you make a change to dog and recompile dog launcher, it'll realize there's a dependency. Dog launcher needs dog to work, and it'll actually also recompile dog under the hood.